Hello dear airhead lovers and welcome back to Airhead Barn. It's time to continue this interesting restoration project of our lovely R90S, and today we are going to focus on our cylinders. So during this assembly we showed you how that circlip unluckily came out from a groove on a right side, and we were really worried that circlip might score or scored or damaged right cylinder. Fortunately, that was not the case. Cylinder is totally untouched, but what I was able to see that both cylinders were really glazed, and today we are going to address that, and also I'll show you the results of my inspection. So here with me I have, this is right side cylinder, and not sure if you will be able to see it, but basically cross hatching does not exist anymore on this cylinder, except of this lower part right here, where actually rings are not even engaging with the cylinder, but operating part of a stroke right here, it's totally glazed. Before we disassembled this bike, I checked the compression, and the engine had really good compression, which gives me a rough idea that everything is okay with heads and with the cylinders. But nevertheless, it's always a good idea when you have them apart to actually inspect them. So what I did is I took the bore gauge and then measured basically 20 millimeters from the top. I measured at 4 different locations around this cylinder. I measured the diameter, and then I went all the way down at the beginning of a stroke, and I repeated the same measurements. So if we focus on upper part of a measurements, 20 millimeters from a top, those 4 measurements should tell you how your ovality is doing. Basically, for the ovality, you will take different types of measurements around the cylinder, and then subtract maximum from minimum, and then the difference is actually your ovality. I did that calculation for 20 millimeters from the top and all the way down, and ovality seems really good. All the way down there is no change at all, so ovality was 0. At the top was way below specified limit, which is 0.01 for this type of cylinder. These are steel cylinders, so no Nicosil, and so we are pretty good here. Why we are measuring at the top and at the bottom is because we also want to check for taper, and by comparing those measurements at top and on the bottom and subtracting them, you will get taper information. And for these 2 cylinders, the taper also came below 0.01, which is again limit for steel type of a cylinder. So cylinders are absolutely fine regarding measurements, but the only issue is that there is almost no cross hatching, and that's what we are going to bring back. So here, this is our left cylinder, which is already done. You can see how essentially I was able to bring back that cross hatching through the whole cylinder, and now this one is essentially ready to go back on a bike. And now we will basically do the same with the right cylinder. You want to check for ovality and taper before bringing back cross hatching, because if those 2 things are above limit, there is really no point of bringing cross hatching back, because you will need to address that cylinder. How to do that? There are a lot of videos out there available that you can use as a reference. I would definitely recommend one from my friend Brooke. He did an amazing job explaining how to do it. That's not something that I'm going to show here. This is mostly letting you know that my numbers were really good and below specifications. Now what I'm going to do is take this right cylinder and bring our cross hatching back. Okay, so in order to do that, I like to mount cylinder in a Y so it's stable while I'm honing it. And I'm using this Flex Hone 3.5 inch 220 grit aluminum oxide. So if you check on their website, they recommend silicon carbide for steel wall cylinders. Since I was able to borrow this one from Brook, I gave them a call and asked them if it's safe to use aluminum oxide on a steel wall cylinders, and they say it's perfectly fine. You will just need to do it a bit more, you know, make double more passes than you would do for Nicosil cylinders. And okay, so without further ado, we will start honing these. So to do that, we will first kind of smear their oil that helps with cutting, and then we will drive Flex Hone in hand drill like 40 times quickly up and down until we are bringing that cross hatching. Okay. Okay. Okay, that looks really good to me. And now we can actually wash this with warm water and a soap, so there is no residue of aluminum oxide left inside, and our cylinder is basically ready to be used again. Here it is. Beautiful. Okay guys, with that I would like to conclude this short episode of cylinder inspection and resurfacing. These are perfectly fine cylinders that we can luckily reuse. I hope you liked it. In the next episode I'm going to inspect cylinder heads. So thank you so much for joining and stay tuned.